Hi, I'm Dustin Hockensmith. This is the Philadelphia Eagles Blitz. We're going from week 4 to week 5 of the 2018 season, looking back on the Eagles' 26-23 loss to the Tennessee Titans on the road, looking ahead to their matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. An interesting game there, a repeat of the NFC Championship game. Two teams with big-time playoff aspirations that are looking for some answers right now. We'll start looking back at week 4 against the Tennessee Titans. Eagles held a lead in that game. They lose it in overtime. They let a lead slip away. And in that overtime period, Marcus Mariota drives the Titans down for a winning touchdown. They gave up a 4th and 15 conversion. They had a couple really untimely penalties. It's led to some questions about this Eagles defense, whether there might be some personnel changes on the horizon. Offensively, give up 4 sacks on Carson Wentz, who still finished with 348 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alshon Jeffrey returned, made his 2018 debut after having rotator cuff surgery. Did it in a big way, 8 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. His return was maybe the biggest silver lining from this loss. The Eagles are reeling just a little bit. They're 2-2. This is an important game coming up against the Minnesota Vikings. All right, as I mentioned before, the Vikings also looking for some answers, just like the Eagles are. Back-to-back losses, tough losses in 2 different ways. Going back to week 3, 27-6. They lose to the Buffalo Bills, who are, by most accounts, one of, if not the worst team in the NFL. So that was a really confusing time for the Vikings. They get into a little shootout with the Los Angeles Rams, and there's no shame in losing a shootout to the NFL's most potent offense. So they've lost 2 straight games coming into this one. So it has a real feel of urgency for not only the Eagles, but for the Vikings as well. Couple themes here for the Vikings to watch. They've had a lot of trouble protecting Kirk Cousins, who's been pressured as much as any quarterback in the NFL. That feeds into one of the Eagles' strengths, which is up front. You could see them pressure Kirk Cousins into mistakes. That's what they'll be looking to do. The other thing is Minnesota ranks last in the NFL in rushing. They have 0 rushing touchdowns, so they have had a hard time finding that balance offensively, have had some issues with injuries, including Dalvin Cook, their starting running back. But the Eagles have a chance here to own the line of scrimmage in both the pass and the run game. If they're able to do that, I think they'll have a good shot to win. Also, defensively, this Minnesota team is still very, very good, very stout. A lot of star power on every level of the defense. Should be a really good test to see how far the Eagles offense has come. All right, and matchups to watch in this one. Mentioned the Eagles offense trying to get on track, averaging 20.5 points per game so far this season. The return of Alshon Jeffrey is a really good point in their favor. He gets a matchup, should see a lot of Xavier Rhodes, one of the NFL's best cornerbacks there for Minnesota. We'll see how healthy he is, how ready he is to make a dent in this Eagles offense. They need him to come up big once again to have a shot to win this game. Getting in Kirk Cousins' face, you mentioned before, the Vikings are giving up a lot of pressure. If the Eagles can do that, not even necessarily sacks, but just alter some throws, you could pressure him into some mistakes. And I think communication on the back end, the Vikings have a high potent offense with Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, guys who can test you all over the field. The Eagles can't have any kind of communication breakdown, certainly can't have the kind of lapses they had in the overtime period against Tennessee. We'll see if they can tighten up those things going in this matchup with the Vikings. All right, and speaking of the matchups here, Daniel Gallen joins us to give us his keys to this game and his predictions for Eagles-Vikings.
Eagles are coming off a heartbreaking 26-23 overtime loss at the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, and things won't get much easier when they play the 1-2-1 Vikings on Sunday. It's a rematch of the NFC Championship game, but there are some different faces. Vikings are now led by quarterback Kirk Cousins, who comes in having thrown for 400 yards in two of his past three games. That means it's going to be another big game for the Eagles secondary. Jalen Mills, Ronald Darby, Corey Graham, Avonte Maddox, Malcolm Jenkins struggled at times last week against the Titans. They're going to have their hands full with Vikings wide receivers Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. They're definitely going to need a bounce-back game if they want to keep the Eagles in this. It might turn into a shootout, and that's kind of the way I think it's going to go. Carson Wentz has been playing well. The Vikings defense just got shredded by the Rams last Thursday night. So I think it's going to be a lot of points, a lot of fireworks at the Link on Sunday afternoon. But I think the Eagles are going to come out on the right side of this one with a 35-31 win.
All right, thank you, Daniel. One of these teams is going to be on shaky ground coming out of week 5. I like the Eagles to win this one. I think 26-20, get back on track, maybe get some of those Super Bowl vibes back in Philadelphia. That's our choice here. Be sure to get involved in the comments section right here on YouTube, on Facebook as well, and subscribe to the PennLive YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.